All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's time for Off the Top Sportscast. I'm John, and that wonderful man right there is Roy. And we're just going to come and just shoot from the hip here today. We're going to go a little current events of what's going on in the sports world. Right now, Roy, as we speak, the Texans and Baltimore are playing, and the playoffs are going on. I don't want to talk about the playoffs because by the time we get this out, that'll be past. But I will want to talk about this year and the parity that we've seen in the NFL. I think this is the best year that I've seen that just people are just the closest to each other. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that because we've had some quarterbacks, big name quarterbacks, go down, or
Hmm.
quarterbacks haven't been themselves. Let's say that. And some rookie quarterbacks, like one of the quarterbacks that are playing now, kind of exceed, expectation. We thought he was good, Stroud, but he's really shown himself to be a great quarterback. Because think about it, if we put Stroud on a team that had better tools, holy moly, what could they be?
I'll tell you right now, I think that we didn't know what the Texans were going to be. We didn't know what their tools were going to be. We didn't know what their coaching staff was going to be, and we didn't know what CJ was going to be. And they've all proven to be top notch. I
Yeah.
mean, DeMeco Ryan has done a heck of a job with that team. Um, Nico Collins is a true number one receiver. We're going to be hearing his name for a while. Tank Dell, even though he's hurt now, but man, he came out and he showed that speed. The guy that we thought we knew about, Damian Pierce from last year, the running back, he's the one who had kind of a questionable year this year. It's been really impressive to see how that team has rebounded in 3 years, right? 3 years since they Stroud, since Watson got suspended and all that kind of stuff happened.
But let me tell you this: if you were just if we had a video before the season and it said, thumbs up, thumbs down, who's going to have a better season, the Jets or Houston? What would you have said?
I would have said the Jets.
Yeah, of course, right? That would have been they were a team that you were talking about that was really on the money. Hall, rookie running back, will come. They had all the little essential tools, and then they go, well, they signed a big name quarterback.
Right.
Stroud wasn't a big name quarterback. He was passed up by teams.
Right. Yeah,
Love,
no.
think about Love. Love was probably talked about more than Stroud for
Oh, for
Green Bay.
sure. Oh, for sure. It just goes to show you, man, if you can smartly use your draft picks in key roles, you can get better quickly. They went key roles. They focused on their offensive line right as Deshaun Watson was leaving, you know, and then they started to get those young wide receivers, and then they got their quarterback and their defense. So it's been impressive how he's done it. Um, DeMeco Ryans, is he hands down the coach of the year?
Ooh, hands down the coach of the year.
All right,
Wow.
let's talk about who's the candidates for coach of the year.
Okay,
You got DeMeco. Would you say he's a candidate?
yes.
How about Matt LaFleur in Green Bay?
Problem with Green Bay, they've looked good and then they've looked not good. I would say no.
Okay. How about the Rams coach?
They
We
talked about him making a big, yeah, they talked about him a lot.
well,
Um,
he almost retired. You know, it seemed like they got rid of a bunch of their stars. They let Ramsey go. They let some guys walk.
yeah.
And all of a sudden, they reloaded. Matthew Stafford looked like he was on his way out. Um, Darnold looked like he was going to retire. He's able to convince everybody to come back, and they had a heck of a year, made it into the playoffs.
What about Dermott?
I think McDermott gets a lot of flack and none of the praise for what he's done in Buffalo.
Think about it. I would think they were on a trajectory that you were going, oh no, this train is coming to us, thinking it's going to hit the ground. This year looked like it was ending up to be probably the worst year that they could have had. Turned it around, head coach, defensive coach. A lot of his coaching staff has left.
Yep.
So you say injuries on the defense. Last week's game, was a stinking mash unit. If you say if he wins tomorrow, if he gets them to the Super Bowl, let's just say that, I think he should be a lock for.
I think he should be considered just for, we were the beginning of the year, and people got to remember, they act like they fired Leslie Frazier. We don't really know what happened there. We don't know.
We don't know.
But what I can tell you is, if they were going to fire Leslie Frazier, I don't think they would have done it when he did it. He came out and said he was going to take a year off, right? And he did it right before, training camp.
Yeah, I think, no doubt.
If they would have done it, they would have done it before that. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think they had a conversation. I think, Leslie probably was like, oh, I'm a little tired. But he's rumored to be interviewing for some jobs. So he's not that tired. So they might have had some type of discussion that, hey, things aren't going the way I like it.
Right.
And he was like, okay, well, I'm going to head out. But I do think if I was to put a number one candidate, and this is not being a Buffalo Bills fan, I'm just saying he's one who should be up there.
I think he's a grown-up. He's a grown-up. He's a grown man. He knows what he wants. He knows how to use players. He'd be a good candidate for anybody. But so you start with that, Leslie Frazier, right? Going down, okay. Then we go into the season. We got aging safeties. We got our starting linebacker leaving. He makes the decision not to bring in linebacker from the outside, to promote from within, because he's big on that.
Yeah.
Bernard turns out to be the right answer. He's played phenomenal in that role. And then one by one, our stars go down. Tre'Davious goes down. Milano goes down.
Yep.
I mean, we had injuries all over the place.
I agree.
We fire our offensive coordinator. We're 6-6.
Now,
he doesn't bring somebody from the outside, which he could have. There was candidates out there. Leftwich was talking about he wanted to come help Buffalo. He again promotes from inside. He says, I have faith in this guy.
Pretty. That's really good. Think about it. That if that would have fell flat,
he would have been gone.
It's very possible he could have been gone. Because you think about it, defensive move. He took it on himself. Offense, he hired, he made this change. They would have been like, now he would have had a mulligan, I have to say, but it would have been a very short mulligan one more year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Brandon Beane is not the type of reactionary, I don't think, general manager. He's not that type of guy. So I think he can see the value of McDermott. It's hard to say what would happen. But regardless, all of those things combining, and we win the division and has his guys ready for the playoffs. In this last playoff game, all these guys go down. and you got guys that have come off the street to play for McDermott. And that's very big because there's a lot of talk about these coaches, and we'll get into coaching in a little bit here, all the open coaching. There's a lot of people that don't want to play for certain coaches.
What
And
about this?
McDermott has a reputation that people want to come back and play.
I'm going to throw another one. What about
Mhm.
Harbaugh?
In Baltimore,
Yeah. He's really done a good job.
he's done a good job, but Baltimore has been the healthiest team I've seen all year. They've had this, and particularly for Baltimore, because Baltimore has injuries all over the place all the time. This is the first time that they've got all the running backs who are healthy. Lamar's been healthy all year. You know, I'm not trying to jinx him or anything, but which is great. Which is the reason I said last year I wouldn't have paid him. It wasn't because he wasn't good; it was his health. Um, they've won games, but they've won games in the past, in the past years. They haven't been spectacular on offense. They've been really good on defense. I don't know. What?
Another coach. What about Campbell?
Oh, okay. You have my attention with Campbell. Yeah.
You think for me is I think a coach of the year is a coach that I see building a team that has become a team to talk about, a team that is dominant, like the Texans. Harbaugh, why I talk about Harbaugh is because of consistency. He's being relevant. You know what I mean? He's relevant, a team who's been there. But Campbell really has taken the Detroit Lions, who in essence was the stepping stool. What the only thing that the Lions had is playing on Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? That was the big thing the Lions had. Nothing else. Stafford left and pretty much left them in the back. And even now, kind of gave a little snarty remark in one of his comments. And then they get Goff. Technically was, they thought, kind of a throwaway. And look at this guy now. So I say, if anything, anybody who's creeping up there, who's got some conversation, especially if this guy comes out and really gives a butt whipping this next game, I say Campbell should be considered.
I think that's an excellent point. And even more to the point, when you come into the year and you actually had expectations, because last year they didn't have an expectation, so they snuck up on some people. But this year there were expectations, and from the jump, from game 1 against Kansas City, Detroit was on. You know what I mean? So I think right now, if you've convinced me that Dan Campbell and DeMeco Ryans would be the front runners for me, those two guys.
I got one more.
All right.
This is what you may think it's a little far-fetched.
Okay.
Think about the team. Think about the pieces.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Well, who am I going to say?
Mike Tomlin.
No.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
Mike Tomlin's got one more year in his contract, and he should not even be considered. Todd Bowles.
Yeah, I did consider him.
Todd Bowles. You get a quarterback who, what did you have? A one-year quarterback. When you look statistically, what did you have? You had a guy who, from what they're saying, they like him in the locker room. He's a man, kind of a team player, little gritty, but I really think that Tampa was kind of like, listen, we're going to get this guy, and they didn't know what they had and what they were going to get. And really, I don't think Todd Bowles would have had another season with Tampa.
That's a good point.
Evans,
the only thing,
good receiver, 1,000-yard, but again, he's long in the tooth.
Here's the only thing that I will combat that with. In any other division or conference, they don't make the playoffs. They made the
Okay.
playoffs because they won their division, but they won their division and they were what, eight and something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he didn't really coach them to a great year. He did happen to win the division by default, but it almost felt like people were actively trying to lose the division. So I don't know if I give that to him.
Okay. All right. Good. Let's
It,
talk.
it
Let's.
ended it ended up being a successful year,
Right.
but only because he won the division. And yes, they beat the Eagles, you know. So that was, really impressive as well. But
I
I don't
think
I don't think so.
I think a college team could have beat the Eagles the way they were playing.
Yeah, it was
I,
bad.
I don't think they could have tackled me. For everybody, remember, we're looking for subscribe because we're looking for 25. So remember, when it comes to sports,
Talk to a stranger about sports today.